Hey guys, thanks for joining me here for my first YouTube video. Today, I'm going to be building a toxic wasteland diorama. First, we start by painting this 135 scale survivor that I bought online. Using Vallejo acrylics, I paint his overcoat, respirator, and backpack. Then I move on to his boots and rifle. It was right around this time when I was finishing up painting my figure that disaster struck.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
Luckily, I was able to glue it back in place without messing up the paint job too bad. For the next step, I used Vallejo thick mud to add more detail to my survivor's boots and overcoat. I set the scene for this diorama by gluing 2 pieces of XPS foam to a piece of wood using construction adhesive. Using a set of dusty weights that totally get used every day, I wait for the adhesive to set. I terraform the land using a hot wire cutter until I get the sloping shape that I'm wanting, which should resemble a riverbed. I ripped a piece of copper off my hot water heater to use as a concrete pipe, which should definitely be fine. I try to use the same magic I see all my favorite creators using to prime it, but it took me a few tries. Once I figure out where I want my pipe, I drill into the foam until I'm reasonably sure that it's deep enough. Then I plug the hole with the cap from one of my paint bottles.
Butterfingers.
I mix up plaster, matte Mod Podge, and cheap brown paint to form the initial base coat for my apocalyptic scene. To form the broken sections of road that I want my survivor to be traveling on, I use the lid from a container of butter that I specifically ate just for this project. Because of my poor lighting, I accidentally grabbed the bottle of brick red paint instead of the gray I had intended to be used for the road. Accepting my mistake, I move forward by smoothing it out as flat as I can using a small sheet of styrene, then fixing it off camera with the gray paint and some white PVA glue. Adding a thin coat of PVA glue helps the edges of the broken pieces stay together in the hopes of avoiding a crumbly mess. To glue the roads to the base, I added a mixture of watered down PVA glue and extra hoppy isopropyl alcohol. I quickly realized this wouldn't work and resorted to adding the road with superglue gel. I used the same spray method to attach gravel to my base to help add additional texture before priming with Tamiya Surface Primer. I coated everything with a Citadel wash, followed by a dry brushing of brown acrylic paint. After touching up the concrete pipe with gray paint, I used more of the Vallejo mud texture on the embankment and between the broken slabs of road. I picked up a small bag of dried vine foliage from my local hobby store to use as fallen leaves. The vines themselves worked perfect as, well, vines. After cleaning up the workbench, I moved to my garage for better ventilation. For the toxic sludge, I used a quick-setting epoxy syringe mixed with green Citadel paint. After a bit of stirring, the mixture started to resemble something oddly familiar. This type of epoxy is perfect for small uses like my sludge river because it's mostly controllable. Mostly. I add a drop of yellow Vallejo paint to act as a fresh plume of toxic waste, which I then mix into the epoxy to give the appearance of flow. While waiting for the epoxy to set, I go ahead and paint the sides black before moving back to the workbench. I sprinkle more leaves into the river and get to work placing them exactly where I want them while the epoxy is still tacky. For the last step, I glue my survivor in place, and then it's time to take in our terrifying landscape in all its toxic glory. I want to thank everyone for watching my first build here today. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe, as I've got plenty more fun projects in the works that I'd love to share with you. Have a great day.